Hi friend, do you want to help support this show? Why not give the Amazon wishlist a look? Just go to bit.ly/transfieldguide. That's bit.ly/transfieldguide. The information and opinions presented in this podcast are based on research done at a particular point in time. The fields of medicine, surgery, psychology, etc. are constantly evolving as new studies and movements happen. Please take into account the year of any particular episode's publication, and as new information presents itself, we will do our best to release updated episodes on the topics. Listener discretion is advised for references to medical terminology of body parts. Unless otherwise stated, no one speaking on this podcast is a medical or legal professional and cannot provide medical or legal advice. Welcome to the Trans Field Guide. Today on this show, I have Ian, aka Vyper, pronouns being he, him, and we will be discussing the experience of being trans without dysphoria. I know that for me, that's a hard thing to wrap my brain around, and I know it's the same thing for a variety of other people, both trans and cis. So any amount of your story and experience to kind of help bridge that gap of knowledge.
Oh, yeah. To be honest, it's really different. I know a lot of trans people that experience dysphoria, and I can't imagine. I knew I was a bit different growing up. I didn't fit into the normal stereotype or want for a normal female life at a young age. I knew that. But since I've lived so long in the body that I'm in and gotten used to it, it doesn't really affect me as much as most trans people do. I didn't really understand that I was trans until I was like 15 and I was working and someone accidentally called me sir and it sparked euphoria. I didn't really have many issues with my body or anything. I still don't. Do I desire to transition? Sometimes. There are days where I look in the mirror and go, yeah, it could be a little bit better, but it's not the point where a lot of other trans people are. And I guess that just makes me weird.
I mean, you're definitely not the only person that has that experience. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, what is weird anyway? Weird is just a matter of opinion. So it's essentially, you have the whole transness of the having a different gender mentally and emotionally than you do physically, but you're just not depressed over it type of thing. Which is really awesome. I'm just going to go ahead and say that because I definitely wish that I had that type of experience. Do you feel like that's made your journey with transitioning or with being transgender easier or harder?
I mean, it comes both ways. It really does. It does bother me a little bit when it comes to like working and things like that. Since I do identify as male, it's really kind of hard to hear she, but it's not bad enough to where I get depressed over it. I just let it roll off like water off a duck's back. I do still dress semi-effeminately because I'm comfortable enough in my masculinity to still do that. For example, my hair, which took me an hour to do, and there's meaning behind it. My grandmother has cancer, so I don't think for her. I don't care if my masculinity is compromised as long as it, makes my grandmother feel a little bit better.
Yeah, which that's really cool. I know that you said that sometimes you do kind of like look in the mirror and go, I would like to maybe could change this thing or that thing type of thing. But it never gets to the point where you sit there and dwell on it or feel like it really compromises your identity in any type of way.
No, not really, no. I guess I just have the mindset of work with what you have and worry about the details later.
Which that's cool. Have you had very much in the way of issues with people that have issues with your mindset? People that are like, oh, you're not really trans type of thing?
Actually, I recently had that on Facebook a couple days ago. I was in an LGBT group and someone posted, you have to have dysphoria to be trans. And I'm sitting here like, who are you to tell me that my identity isn't valid? Just because you do not experience dysphoria does not make me any less valid than someone who does. We have the same experiences. It's just a little different on the emotional level.
And I guess kind of to put it into a perspective for people listening, there are trans people who are dysphoric about only one part of their body. There are people that are dysphoric about everything except for one part of their body that does not biologically align with where they are mentally. And so I was actually using that as a way to kind of explain that to a friend of mine the other day, because he had really bad top dysphoria, but doesn't have any bottom dysphoria. I have another friend who's a trans woman who I don't ever remember her ever talking about having dysphoria when we hung out frequently. But at the same time, once I started looking into transitioning, I had always had a lot of dysphoria with everything. So for people listening, it's kind of one of those things where it's everything's on a spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
Just for argument's sake type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know that there are people that have this line of thought as well. Do you feel that your male identity is primarily based around gender roles or more so about identity as a whole? Because I know there are people that would be like, well, if you just don't like following female gender roles, you can still be female and not follow those gender roles.
Oh, no. It's more identity as a whole. It most definitely is. I know there are a lot of people who don't agree with gender roles, which neither do I, but that's not the main reason I'm doing this. I've always felt male. Always. I just could never express that in a way outwardly until after I moved out of my parents'
It seems pretty normal.
Yeah. It's been a journey discovering who I am as a person.
Being trans for anybody is definitely an experience. What also is your opinion on things like gender queer, which kind of falls similarly in line to somebody who just doesn't follow the outward appearance and the gender roles and all of that stuff that go along with the gender they were assigned at birth, as well as the concept of being like agendered and things of that nature?
The concept of agender, it's how you feel. It's how you are. That's your whole identity. And what you identify as, it doesn't matter if anyone else thinks it's valid, so long as you know it is and you're comfortable with it. I hear a lot of backlash for the asexual community and the pansexual community as well. And I'm sitting here like, those are valid for sexuality. Those are completely valid. You can have no sexuality or no pinpoint as to what attracts you to somebody and still be who you are. So I think that's the same with like agender and things like that.
And as well as with just like not having any dysphoria to anything. Do you have any advice for people who might be exploring their own gender identity and having the same types of feelings of like, well, I feel like I'm not the gender that I was assigned at birth, but I also don't look in the mirror and go, oh, I hate my insert body part here?
Well, how I kind of started out was kind of dressing the role, trying to appear a little bit more masculine. If you want to explore the fact that you might not be who you think you are on like physical appearance or anything like that, take baby steps. You don't want to dive head first into the unknown. Take baby steps. Start with what you're comfortable with doing. Make like a mental note of what you want to accomplish and then take the steps necessary to go for it. Because with me, it just started with my clothes.
I know you'd said that you've considered a little bit occasionally like doing medical transitioning. Do you think that hormone therapy or any surgeries would potentially be in your future? Or do you feel that because you're comfortable with your body as it is, that it's just not worth it?
Actually, for years, I've been contemplating going through HRT, mostly because I'm a little insecure about my voice. Just a little. But everything else, as far as my physical body, not so much. I wouldn't really change that. I am comfortable wearing my binders and my packer and things like that. So I wouldn't really want to change that. And I still have the mindset that I want at least one biological child. So
Which that's kind of hard to do when you're on HRT.
yeah.
As far as the voice thing is concerned, there's actually a really well-priced voice coach just to have as another option if you don't want to go through the HRT with all of the everything else that comes with it.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, you can't just get on testosterone and have it just pinpoint your voice. You get the hair, you get the everything else.
I already get the hair. I have PCOS. I already get it.
Oh, well, see, one step ahead. Any other little tidbits or anything you want to throw out there for my audience to hear?
Yes, actually. There are a lot of people exploring the options who will eventually see that they aren't. Don't bash them for saying that they are at first. They are just trying to explore their options, to explore who they really are. Don't knock them down when they need you. If they discover that they aren't who they thought they were, be there for them. Catch them when they fall, because there are a lot of us who don't make it without any support.
It's very true. And very important for people to hear as well. If I have any listeners or anybody who has any additional questions, is there anywhere online that they can find you?
I am on Instagram. My handle is arsonist_lullabies. I am also on Facebook under Vyper Ian Valor, Vyper spelled with a Y. You would have to message me first in order for me to add you, though.
Thank you once again for coming on my show.
You're welcome.
Like this episode? Tell someone about it. Have any questions or concerns, please feel free to send an email to transfieldguide@gmail.com. Also be sure to subscribe to keep up with the latest episodes. Stay safe, and remember, I'm proud of you.